I just want you all to know that I thought I was recording, but it turns out it took a picture of me instead. So that's how my night's going. How's yours? Hi, I'm Tatyana, aka your digital melanated wise girl, and today we are talking about Percy Jackson Season 2, particularly my thoughts, my feelings. If you want more of a comprehensive guide, this is not going to be it. This is just going to be me yapping about what I personally want to see. So I'm sorry. I might do a video. I've been thinking about it, doing like what you need to know about Percy Jackson in 15 minutes, maybe right before the premiere, but I'm still thinking about it. The fact of the matter is, first and foremost, can I secure my yapping for 15 minutes? There was 3 hours of footage for the Annabeth video, and I got it down to an hour. That's a miracle in itself. So we'll see. I've actually been asked by, you guys, thank you, Wise Girl Nation. That's why I affectionately call you all to talk about this, which I appreciate very much so. Before we get started, I do have someone you guys need to meet. Everyone meet Mochi, the guinea pig. Mochi the guinea pig will be accompanying me on all my season 2 content. I am very sorry she wasn't in my teaser. I was trying to get it out very quickly, and something had to be sacrificed. So this is Mochi. Everybody say hi. Mochi is something that I crocheted, and now she is just going to be here. Well, I'm not going to be holding her the entire time. She'll be in the corner over there. But I just wanted to give you the introduction to Miss Mochi. Also, I'm like redecorating the space that I film in. So if you have any suggestions, please let me know. There's just a bare wall right there. I might be moving stuff around. So I'm experimenting with things right now. But there's my Annabeth little Funko Pop and all my Percy Jackson books except Sea of Monsters. That's in my living room because I forgot to bring it in. Lastly, before we get into this, there will be spoilers in this video. I'm sorry. In order for me to fully talk about how I want to see book 2 and season 2 and how the show will go, I have to talk about book 2 spoilers, including the very big ending spoilers. So if you are trying to go into the show blind, watch my Annabeth video again. I'm sorry, I need the watch time. I'm not going to be lying to you guys. I would appreciate it. All right, with that, let's get into it. Let's get into the theories and the wants and all that. Pause for a second. We should talk about what season 2 will be, or the synopsis, the logline for season 2 is as follows. Percy Jackson returns to Camp Half-Blood 1 year later to find his world turned upside down. His friendship with Annabeth is changing. He learns he has a Cyclops for a brother. Grover has gone missing, and camp is under siege from the forces of Kronos. Percy's journey to set things right will take him off the map and into the deadly Sea of Monsters, where a secret fate awaits the son of Poseidon. Everything in this video is going to be things that we've heard either in interviews or through Disney themselves. That is all I'm going to say on that matter. Keep it cute in my comments. All right, let's get started. So we're going to break this up by characters, scenes that I'm pretty excited for, overall thoughts, and then any lingering questions that I didn't answer during that. First and foremost, about my miscellaneous / the monsters of this season. I'm going to be so honest with y'all. If I had to deal with season 1 budget with season 2 monsters, I like this show. I really do. It would have been hard to defend. So thanks for the budget increase. We do appreciate it. I appreciate it very much. So that being said, I'm actually really excited for the monsters this season because they have more of an overarching arc than the monsters of season 1, who were like, the Lightning Thief isn't particularly my favorite book anyway. Sea of Monsters is actually my second favorite. My first is the Last Olympian. I love finale books, and The Last Olympian is just my favorite of the series. That being said, Sea of Monsters is my second, which is very surprising considering most people's second is The Titan's Curse. We got the Sea Monsters, of course. I'm going to be so honest with y'all. If I try to pronounce any of their names, it's not going to be good for me or you in that experience. So you'll see pictures on the screen. The 2 sea monsters that they have to deal with, that's going to be crazy. Just seeing the teaser of just a little bit of what they had to do makes me really excited for that. Cersei's Island, which I'll talk a little bit about later, I'm really interested to see, because it's been said that they changed her character to be a little bit more sympathetic, which is interesting because I think with Medusa it makes sense because like Medusa like didn't consent to a lot of the stuff that she was dealing with, like I mentioned in my Annabeth book. But Cersei just kind of did that. Like, she's been wronged by men. Like, men as a whole are interesting creatures, but like, I don't understand. I understand that women characters can be all sorts of complex. That being said, what do you mean this 13-year-old just, showed up on your island just looking for refuge, and you went, guinea pig him? Not you, Mochi. Mochi's special, but like, well, that's what you thought to just.
Hi, editing Tatyana here. So when I was talking about Cersei's Island, I honestly was pretty ignorant at the time and until tonight when I was scrolling on TikTok and came across the Two Wise Girls pod vertical talking about a certain interpretation that actually has her being a SA victim. So kind of ignore everything I just said because I do think there could be a lens. I've started doing a little bit more research on Cersei because there are different interpretations of her story and how she is. But yeah, I wanted to clarify that right after I saw that TikTok and I was like, oh, let me do some research. I usually do. I just did it for her. I apologize for those words, and I am truly interested in how her story is portrayed in the show, especially if it seems like they're going to go with an interpretation that might bring into like more of the stuff that he did with Medusa. Okay, back to that version of me.
I'm also excited for the giant. I'm not trying. I told y'all I'm not trying to pronounce these names. It's not out of laziness. It's out of just, I'm going to sit on camera and try to pronounce them for 15 minutes and I'm still going to get it wrong. I tried to pronounce the big Cyclops' name and I kept saying polyamorous, and that's when you just have to give up. But I am very interested to see the relationship that they have between that and Grover, particularly. Jump scare to movies. I know in the movies it was giving homophobic, so hopefully they don't do that for the show. I mean, it's a bit, so like it's supposed to be funny, but also is it funny? How old is Grover? Actually, let me not think about that, because if I go into that downward spiral of thinking about forced marriage and like, you know, all of that, and this is a children's show and I need to like crack a joke. But yeah, anyway, I actually really I'm really excited for the monsters actually, and slash or Annabeth has to face the most, Luke. But he's on a different section of this. Luke Castellan, when I catch you. Let's talk about the gods. I'm going to talk about the gods that are particularly we know are confirmed to be in this season, slash who I think will be in this season and appear in the book. Zeus. It's really unfortunate that Lance Reddick passed away right after the filming of season 1. But I think Courtney B. Vance is an incredible choice to, in an unfortunate circumstance, to take on that role. And I'm also very excited to see how they incorporate Zeus this season. Walker, who plays Percy, said in an interview that he didn't work with Courtney, so that makes me assume that it's going to be during one of the flashback scenes. Which makes me also realize that the only time he really appears is when Thalia dies. So getting to see that on our screens is going to hurt. See, this is why when I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do reactions, y'all don't need to see how I will react to that. Because when I look like a sobbing mess, and I have to wonder to myself, is it worth me looking like a fool online? But then again, I posted this unironically in high school, so I'll think about it. I just, in general, do want to see all the gods talk to each other again. I think that would be really interesting. I love a good adults yapping scene in Percy Jackson, honestly. They seem to be very intentional with it, and I like them so far. So Poseidon, it's not confirmed. He's not like in the book, but he's mentioned, of course, a lot. But like, especially with the claiming of Tyson and them reaching out to him like via whatever, the telepathy, the gods can whatever. So I think a lot of it is going to be through dreams and voiceover. I mean, if that man wants to appear on my screen, I'm not going to be mad, right? That being said, I just don't see a place currently where they would fit him in. there could be things that it makes more sense. It just doesn't make sense to me at the moment. I just look and saw who I had to talk about next. He haunts me, sometimes when I have to think about the fact that Hermes is going to be in this season. I was reading the book and still did a jump scare, knowing he was in the book and in the movie, and he's going to appear in this season. Every time, I just get shocked. Okay, look, I don't have anything against Lin-Manuel Miranda. I love Hamilton. I love In the Heights. I just like whacking him as Hermes for fun. That being said, Hermes, when I catch you, because why are you talking to Percy more than you talk to Luke? Let's unpack that a little bit. Actually, let's not, because I'll be here all day. But like, really? Really? Just interesting to me. You know what? Hermes can appear. Have your little moment. He gives them things that they need. Moving on. Aries. Okay, I know I say this with love. I know there's a lot of people who I follow who are very excited to see this man appear on their screen again. Personally for me, I don't see the appeal, but I understand, and I'm very excited for y'all. This is not coming from a place of sarcasm. I'm being generally like, I'm very excited for y'all that you will get to see him appear. But I am also very interested, and this kind of sparked when I reread the books, really interested in him and Clarice's relationship this season, particularly because in season 1 we heard him be like, kind of hate my kids and I hate them yapping, and now he has to like talk to his child, and on top of that he hates Percy. So it's really funny and really interesting to see how that dynamic is going to fit, and knowing that we're going to have more Clarice's story makes me actually really excited. Like, I'm not going to lie to you guys, like I was kind of like more Clarice, but now I'm like, you know what, I'm kind of digging it. I'm generally kind of digging it. Maybe it's because I just love her hair. I've kind of been obsessed with her hair in the teaser. So I'm really interested to see how their relationship is. And I know there's a part in the books, when I reread it, I totally forgot about, was her talking with Aries and Percy like overhears. I forgot if it's in a dream or not, or like on the ship. I'm really glad with their choice of Aries, and I'm really interested to see how that dynamic goes, especially with Clarice being, presumed black/biracial in the show, and Aries being white. It's the first kind of god dynamic of that sort. Everybody else is the same race as their godly parent currently, so I'm interested to see how that goes. The one the one god that you guys have asked me about actually has been my thoughts on Athena's casting. I have so many running thoughts and I can talk about it all day. But that being said, I'm going to try to summarize it very briefly. The casting wise, I love that it's Andrea Day. I think it's Andrea, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm saying it wrong, I am so sorry. I love her as an actress, so I'm actually very interested to see that dynamic between her and Leah playing Annabeth. No, I'm not going to comment on the costuming at this time because I have some theories I'll talk about in a second regarding that. It was kind of shocked that she's in season 2. In the books, she is in the siren scene only very briefly. It is not even like she's talking. It's like a vision of her with Annabeth's dad and Luke. So it makes me really interested in and I talked a little bit about this in my movie video, but not in my Annabeth video. But I do hope with Athena, we get to I'm not saying to redeem her, because I think all characters should be complex. And I don't necessarily think just because Athena is black means she has to be perfect. I think that far beyond that. But I do think that all the gods kind of had a chance to be in defense of themselves, except Athena, because she wasn't cast in season 1. So she was doing all these things kind of off screen. Everybody's just like, she sucks. And I'm like, well, she also hasn't even appeared yet. So I think that's really interesting to see. There was also talk, and I'm holding back on my thoughts about this until I see the show context, of Athena and colorism and industry, which I think are very valid claims. I want to wait and hold. I just want to acknowledge them, but I want to wait and hold all my comments until we see Athena on screen and how she's portrayed before I'm going to give my thoughts, because it truly does depend on that. I just want Annabeth and Tatyana to have a conversation. And if I think what I think is going to happen, I think that their conversation is going to happen more so in the siren scene. I do hope it's something that fulfills Annabeth enough, which is why I said I'm a little bit like not talking about the costuming right now, because if it is this imagined state that Annabeth is in, it would make sense for certain aspects to be a little... I think the costuming is amazing in the show. It's just a little bit concerned about Athena. I can understand their vision if that is the case. But again, I just not knowing context of it and just not hearing anything from San Diego. Like, I double checked videos and stuff. They're keeping it very tight-lipped right now. So I think it's personally going to happen during the siren scene. I do hope we get to see a genuine conversation between them otherwise, or at least understand Dina in a relation and Annabeth's thoughts about her more. I would also really love to see maybe, because I'm trying to remember, I'm sorry, I'm not totally brushed up on my Annabeth lore right now. I'm trying to remember if she has met, I know she's gotten gifts from Athena. I don't know if she's met her before. So I think it'd be really interesting if we do get a glimpse of their first meeting of sorts. I think that would also be really cool. I'm really hoping that we get to explore more of that, especially since we now have a visual of Athena on our screens. Let's get into some side characters before we get into our main six. I do want to talk about Thalia. The fact that Thalia is Black is such a major win. One of the funniest days on the X Twitter app was when Thalia's casting was announced. The jokes were joking. I had a great time that day.
You are freaking African Americans plus Mark. You know what I'm saying? Which I'm rocking with Mark because Mark is rocking with us.
That being said, my thoughts on Thalia in the season 2 is I'm actually kind of glad that she's currently not like being shown or discussed, because I think that's kind of what Thalia is in season 2, right? I'm hoping personally that they incorporated, it's kind of like they incorporated Percy figuring out Kronos and like who the camper and the traitor was, and the lightning thief was in season 1, where we're starting to see slow bits of Thalia before Annabeth actually tells them everything what happened after the siren scene, which I'm assuming is still the case, saying that they're going to have an actual conversation about their relationship. Thank God. After. So I'm really interested to see how Annabeth kind of talks about Thalia, especially now knowing that Thalia is another Black girl. It is confirmed that they are going to be doing flashbacks because they have cast a young Annabeth played by Leah's cousin, which I think is hilarious that Leah did not even know that she was auditioning. She just saw her on set. I do really want to see more of a Thalia and Luke backstory. I am a Thalia Luke shipper. I'm sorry. I am not usually a doomed shipped girl, but those two, yeah. I'm sorry. I am very excited to see that dynamic on screen and to see how they interact, because we really just haven't been able to see that. Not like a mystery, but I want her to be like a looming, I want her to haunt Percy. That sounds so bad out of context. Like you kind of see her in her dreams. I really like this aspect of the book where like she appears like he thinks he's dreaming about Annabeth, but he's like, actually it's Thalia. Hey, what's up? Also, I'm really interested to see, because it is a throwback, but we haven't really confirmed a year in the Percy Jackson universe. Has COVID happened in Percy Jackson? That's a question. That's a question nobody's asking.
ADHD. ADHD.
I'm really interested because we haven't heard like when the throwback will be. So I'm like, is it 2010s punk we're going to see her in? Is it 2000s punk we're going to see her in? I am so excited for the costuming, and I do hope they kind of keep that a secret until the show releases, or we get a little bit in the trailer, like a tiny bit in the trailer. I generally do like the idea of keeping it a secret. Also, I have Sally on here just because I love Sally. I'm very excited for her to be in season 2. I'm also very interested because it seems they have added a scene with her towards the end, if I'm not mistaken, from public set photos. I'm trying to remember. I think Grover was in that car. So that is so funny that they're going to have Sally with all her kids. She just stays adopting kids. Also, I really appreciate that they're going to have Tyson live with them, because I was rereading the book right before San Diego Comic-Con stuff came out, and I was like, they kept him on the street. That just doesn't feel like Sally. So I'm really glad that he's living with them and he's going to be a nuisance to Percy. I think that's hilarious. Sally is our queen. I'm really excited to see how she is incorporated this season, though it's less this season than other books, or at least season 1. I am really interested to see them keep that heart of the show. One of the main reasons why Percy does not become Luke, personally, one of the main reasons is because of Sally, because he has Sally. So I'm really interested to see how that goes for season 2. All right, let's get into our main 6.
I would like to also mention that I did forget about Chiron when I initially recorded this. He just wasn't on my character list, so I forgot to mention him. But I so glad I waited, because then I saw this tweet and I have so many questions. I don't think you guys understand. I can do a whole little rant about Chiron and how I do think he is the queer icon that we need in this show, particularly the interpretation in the series. Am I wrong? And if you say I'm wrong, I'm not going to say you hate the LGBT, the alphabet community, but Mariah Carey, if they play emotions, funniest thing the show could ever do. I need them to tap in. I need them to tap in. Mariah, please approve. Please approve. I'm saying, I think she did. I do think she did. Okay, let's go on to the next character. Let me stop.
Okay, first and foremost, I wanted to talk a little bit more about Clarice. Like I said before, I'm actually really interested to see Clarice's arc this season. I do really want to get some of her perspective of her journey, and I think it's going to be really interesting because Clarice, especially in Sea of Monsters, is much more headstrong than I thought she was. She is mad annoying, and I need them to keep that energy. I think it's fantastic. Every time you think she's going to do something correct, she turns around and does something stupid for the most part, and I think that's a great catalyst to everything going on with Percy and Annabeth and Tyson, so I want them to continue that. Will I still scream at the screen when she blows Grover's cover? 100%. If she does that in the show, it's not known yet. I am actually very obsessed with her hair. It's great. It's great. 10 out of 10. Grover, my sweet, the goat, as somebody said, the goat. No, I'm really excited that we're going to see more of Grover's journey to the Sea of Monsters, because again, we just don't get that because of the fact that the books are in Percy's point of view. But like, I'm just really interested to see like how he got into this situation in the first place. Also, Luke's army following him. I love Grover's journey just in general in the books, and I'm really excited to see that expanded within the show. And the wedding dress they're doing to Say Yes to the Dress segment, they released part of it during San Diego Comic-Con. It hasn't been released online yet. I need them to hurry up. I've been asking for that for a year now, so I'm glad they followed through with that, but I need that on my desk. I'm also really interested to see, again, I think I talked about this during my like what I'm excited for in 2025, particularly what kind of wedding dress they end up going with, if it's going to be more of a Desi style wedding dress because of the actor playing Grover, or is it going to be a more traditional Americanized wedding dress? I'm fine either way. Honestly, no, I would prefer it to be catered to the culture of the actor, depending, but like he seems excited about it, and they're keeping it a secret, which I'm actually very surprised about. I generally thought they were gonna like, I don't know, use it for promotion, but I can also see them dropping it on a random Tuesday like they seem to do everything else. So it's going to be on a random Tuesday afternoon in September. They're going to drop that. It's going to be in the trailer. You know what? It's probably going to be the opening of the trailer, but I'm really interested to see. I also got asked about how Percy's and Grover's empathy link, I think, is going to work in the show. I think it's just going to be kind of like how they did his dreams. I think that's just going to be how it does. I'm always been really interested in how like they're going to continue that throughout the series, because he does decide to keep it, and kind of what that means for both of them. I've seen it interpreted in, like AO3, we're not going to talk about it, in different ways, particularly as Percy's feelings for Annabeth kind of grow. So I do have some questions. Also, a lot of the prep that they talked about during the San Diego Comic-Con panel is true. Was like them having to have like these intense like scenes and emotions, their relationship, because Grover and Percy are like this. If it's not Percy and Annabeth, it's Grover and Percy as well. Like they're like this. How they continue to have that dynamic for the show, because that relationship is just as important to Percy. Tyson. Okay, I'm not saying I don't have much to say about Tyson, because Tyson is my son. Tyson is like my child, right? Okay, so I did do this TikTok, and then people on TikTok flamed me because they said it's going to be jarring either way. I was joking. I generally am fine with the eye. I also think like this is the teaser eye, and they're probably going to still be adjusting it before the show comes out. So this is like kind of just like the first look at it. This picture is still jarring though. I don't care what y'all say. It's just like, because it's a still shot, it's just weird. I am excited to see Tyson on the screen represented well. That's the true win of this series, is the fact that Tyson doesn't have dreads. I think we should be applauding for that, because that, I have so many questions of what they were thinking when they decided that Tyson should have dreads. You know, I was wondering in the movies why they decided to go with racism. All I'm gonna say is I'm very excited for him to be on my screen. If you follow me on the X app, you know. But anyways, I'm actually really excited to see Tyson and Annabeth's dynamic in particular in the show, and especially with her fear of Cyclopses, and, justified, of course. I'm really interested in Tyson and Percy's dynamic works and how all three of them kind of function in this aspect. All I know is that, that ironclad scene is going to hurt. Also, I have a prediction because we seen that like big battle with Luke's army. I'm assuming that is towards the end of the season. That's my guess. That being said, I think the trident in that shot is Tyson. Luke, You know, I look, okay, I am appreciative of the show deciding that we shouldn't have Luke and Annabeth's weird dynamics that they have in the I just Luke cast when I cat season 3 Luke? Oh, season 3 Luke? We'll have words. We'll have words. But I think it's really interesting to see. First of all, him in his tracksuit is frying me. This is one of the funniest shots they got this for this press run so far. The jokes have been joking. I appreciate all of them. That being said, Luke, we're gonna see Luke stabbing the tree. The amount of times I'm gonna say, Luke, when I catch you in the next 6 months. First, you're gonna stab your ex-situationship's tree. That's what my canon tells me. Then you're gonna like get a carnival cruise ship for demigods. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about why is the Princess Andromeda a carnival cruise ship? How did you get that, Luke? With what money? Are you doing crypto scams? I believe he's doing his crypto scams. He feels like the type of person that would do crypto scams. And then there's like, what about the other characters? What about his like the original characters, his army? I don't care. I never cared. I'm excited to see them. Allison is giving very much Katniss Everdeen. Actually, wait, let me hold that thought because I just realized that somebody on Twitter was like, wait, does she shoot Percy with a bow and arrow? That's crazy. Can we talk about the where she get the bow and arrow? I have so many questions about his army. I'm very interested. I don't like Luke. I'm sorry. Charlie's an incredible actor. Luke, I am on your hate team. I can't defend you. I'm sorry. Would I explore the Princess Andromeda? I mean, I would do a tour. They got an arcade. I would see what it's about. But then I would leave. How is he funding this? Because Kronos is still in that casket, mind you. He is still materializing. So like who's funding the army? I'm really interested in how Luke and Annabeth's relationship kind of changes, especially since we know that Annabeth saw the betrayal and she still is kind of holding on to this idea that Luke can be changed back. So I'm really interested to see how that first meeting is going to go. And also it's said that the Luke's turn is going to go from like maybe they will join to like actually let's just kill him. So seeing that turn is also going to be very interesting. Annabeth, you know I can yap all day about Miss Annabeth Chase, but I am going to try to keep it brief. I'm so excited to just generally see the true arc of Annabeth this season because she truly does have to open up to someone new for the first time in such a long time, and to see that kind of growth in her and to see her become more and more of the formidable demigod that like she actually is rather than what everybody wants her to be, makes me just really excited. It's going to be devastating to see certain things, her running away for the first time in flashbacks, her on the run with them, potentially Dahlia's death scene and her thoughts. The siren scene is going to be whatever format it's going to be is really emotional, but I want her to be happy at the end of this season because after this season is nothing's going to be happy, right? I mean, as happy as you can be given the circumstances. I'm so interested to see how they do Cersei's Island and how they make over her and what she sees when she looks into that mirror, especially what Percy sees when he looks in the mirror. I'll talk about that in a second. No, but overall, I think there's so many interesting things they can do, especially with Annabeth being Black within her arc and within certain things that she's dealing with. So
Also, I want to state, since we're already talking about it and I didn't state it while I was recording, no, I do not want to see book Annabeth or book Percy being the things they see in the mirror. That would actually be the actual worst thing. Like, please, 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 no. Okay, I wanted to make that point. Back to whatever I was saying before.
this is Annabeth's season. This is really when we see her grow the most, and her bond with Percy particularly grow. And everybody talks about Percy and Annabeth's particular relationship and how their relationship is kind of, they said, and I quote, the orbit of the show. Yeah, you don't have to worry about Percy and Annabeth either. A, moving too fast because I think the actors just have really natural chemistry that plays into their roles. And B, I think it's just Annabeth and Percy in general have always been written to be very intensely close. While we do know that they eventually do have a romance, and that's going to be not for a while, the creators were like, we can't stop the fact that we did a good job as casting the two actors. The funny moments when they accidentally are like their characters with their interactions and certain things. I think it's really funny. I'm really excited to see Percy and Annabeth's relationship grow within the show. and particularly this season, as I hope that we see kind of Annabeth's backstory through Percy's view until like Annabeth fully is just like, okay, this is what's going on. Last but not least, I guess we can talk about Percy. I mean, the main character. Personally, I love Percy's journey throughout Sea of Monsters because I think it's a big journey of just like discovery of, I feel like season 1 was a discovery of himself, and I think this journey is discovery of him, his relationship with other people and other people's point of view, because he goes into this very much so still very headstrong, always has been, and he's always been incredibly loyal. But I think we really see that those bonds and relationships form, especially when this season and this book is when he kind of realizes how much danger everybody can get into and how he can really lose the people that he's come to trust and care for and love. He almost loses Sally last season. And like we learn a little bit more about the Great Prophecy, which is something that I didn't realize they touched on in this book. I thought it was more of a book 3 thing. So I was really surprised when he was like, the prophecy. Because Annabeth, technically, I don't 100% know in the show how much she knows. Yeah, I don't know if that's been revealed, but that's such a big thing that he's like, Annabeth kind of tells him, like, I just need you to know that, like, I'm not going to tell you the full thing of everything I know, but just know that, like, it's not looking good for you. You're going to have to make a big decision when you turn 16, just an FYI. But doesn't give him the full context, and that's like when he's like, great. So this is now I got to deal with this. So I'm really excited to see kind of him, especially being a stronger fighter, a stronger demigod, but also still kind of nuanced to like relationships between certain entities within the Greek god world, and like especially because he has to learn to understand why Annabeth doesn't like Cyclopses, and it just doesn't get into his head. But I also think it's a really interesting take, and probably something I'll talk a little bit more about in my Melanated World of Annabeth Chase video, of an allegory of like sometimes there are certain types of people that other people have fears for, that someone who is white like Percy may not just see because they haven't dealt with that. So I think that's a really interesting allegory that might be played into this season. In terms of like the actor, I'm going to tell y'all this straight up. I do not care how tall he is. Everybody's tall to me. I'm 5 feet. He looks like a kid. They all look like kids. Yeah, they grew up. That's, things that happen when you cast somebody at 11 years old, right? I don't think it's that big of a deal that they're like a year or 2 off of the books. I just have a soft spot for like, people adultifying children in general. And I think, and I haven't really said much about it on my channel, and I know that inevitably because of me talking about Percy Jackson season 2 content, that's something that can come up in my video. So just know I will be defending those kids because they are kids at the end of the day, particularly within this season. Leave them kids alone. That is the Melanated Wise Girl official statement. Go touch grass. Okay. So now we're going to get into scene changes. First and foremost, y'all really thought they were going to keep Confederate soldiers in a show with 2 black girl leads? I need us to really think with our brains for a second here, because why would they do that? Okay, this was more of TikTok clock act discourse, and I've already did a video on the clock app about that and about my feelings regarding that, so I'm not going to regurgitate that statement. But to summarize, basically, it would be really stupid. And I knew that was going to be one of the first changes they made, because honestly, we didn't need them in the first place. It's not a girl boss moment. It's not a, oh my God, the black girls are fighting, are in charge of the racist, when we are literally dealing with that daily still. That's just stupid. I'm really excited for the change though. It's like of different wars. And somebody mentioned, I'm not taking the credit for this, I saw it on the timeline, of them having different fighting styles within their wars. So I'm really excited to see how that kind of shows up. One of my favorite tweets that I have had so far about season 2 was, does that kid have a gun? Because this was before everything came out and I was a little bit confused. I connected the dots now. I still think it's very funny. Cersei's Island, I'm really interested in. Thank God they're putting this in this adaptation. I'm just glad we're not going to have a one-to-one with the movies for this, honestly. I'm very excited about that. Cersei's Island has always been so interesting to me, especially rereading it, because I didn't realize how quickly they turned Percy into that guinea pig. And now we're going to get Annabeth's kind of point of view of everything, because we only really got, again, Percy's point of view. I don't know how. Part of me wants to have Percy's reaction to Annabeth, because well, it's not the first indication of romantic feelings whatsoever. For Percy in the books, it's kind of the first audible one that we have, even if it's him in guinea pig format. I don't know how they can do that without it being camp, personally. Maybe after he retransforms. I'm just very excited that the production said that the guinea pig that they have for Percy is named Vanilla, which they got the blondest guinea pig possible. I think that's hilarious. And I'm very excited to see that on screen. Of course, me and Mochi are very excited to see that on screen. The siren scene. They have hinted at the fact that the siren scene is going to change. It's really interesting because in the original books, if you don't remember, the siren scene is Annabeth has Percy like kind of tie her up to the boats. He has cotton in his ears so he can't hear, but Annabeth doesn't, so she wants to hear the sirens. She kind of goes into this vision-like state and jumps into the water. Percy has to get her. He surrounds them in a giant bubble so Annabeth can breathe, and that's when she like breaks down. I understand why that would be really, really hard to do in a live action without like $1 million budget one, and making sure their minor actors are not like being tortured by having to be underwater for that long. So I can understand realistically why that wouldn't be in it. And I figured they would have to change it somewhat anyway. I always predicted that they were probably getting rid of the bubble and just having him pull her back onto the ship because it's just easier visually. But now that they're talking about the changes, it does make me wonder if more of it's going to be changed. I still do think there is going to be an aspect of Percy pulling her out of it. I do wonder if they just end up on the island where the sirens are at and he pulls her kind of through that. I do hope that there's still, this is going to sound so bad, I do hope there is that like breakdown scene of her just like, because it's really just hitting Annabeth that like everything that took place. So I really do want that breakdown scene for her, cathartic reasons. They talked about the process of just filming both the siren scene and the scene after. It was just really difficult for the actors. So I also admire the fact, especially being them so young, that they were able to do that. Even when reading it, I was like, as someone who barely, and I mean like dipped a toe into on-screen acting, I couldn't even imagine the emotions you have to harness for something like that. And also, I know how much pressure that they both probably are facing because that's one of the most anticipated scenes, because it A, wasn't in the movies, and B, is one of the big Percy and Annabeth scenes. It's what makes them bond. Also, why is Luke pulling up the Camp Half-Blood? All right, let's talk about it. He doesn't do that in the books. I reread the book. Do you know like how rude that is, bro? Like, people are speculating that we're not going to get the final chariot scene. That's only worrying people a little bit because the final chariot scene triggers what eventually is the first cheek kiss between Percy and Annabeth. I have thoughts, but I'm going to hold that for a second because I personally think they moved it up. I think they moved it up for the siren scene. I don't think they will take it out. Those Percabeth warriors in the writer's room, we're good. I don't think the cheek kiss is gone. That being said, battle scene, they have blood. Monsters don't bleed, which means that the blood is from a human. That's crazy. I think at some point they have to make the show TV-14. I just personally think because, especially season 3, like kids, especially now that they cast Bianca and Nico, things will be painful for them. In general, they're about to get the performance of their lives. But that being said, the stunt choreography and just like battle scene choreography amazed me. So I'm really excited to see how that all plays into it. And Luke almost killing Percy, because that's crazy. Technically, this doesn't really happen until book 4. So the fact that it's happening in book 2, what's going to happen in book 4? How much worse can it get for these kids if in book 2 they're invading Camp Half-Blood? I've been yapping for an hour. I think that change is inevitable in any sort of adaptation. Like we got the Tunnel of Love instead of the spiders in last season, which I think was a great change visually because I personally just wouldn't want to see a bunch of spiders anyway. One thing about these showrunners, I've heard Black Sails was a fantastic show. I just personally haven't watched it yet. It's on my watch list. I've been told it's very dark and things, so I have to be in the right headspace to watch it. Like, I never doubted that they knew water. So when it came to the Sea of Monsters, I was like, oh, they're gonna eat this season up because they know how to do a show on water. I'm not worried. I was not worried. I had faith. I guess going into my overall thoughts for season 2, I'm really excited for the changes just in general and the improvements with, the increased budget, with having notable feedback from both audiences and critics. Of course, think like the Abbott Elementary casting room, they kind of have like a no social media rule other than like maybe major things that need to be noted or changed. Like, of course, if they're like something is problematic that should be changed, but other than that, I don't think they take their ideas from social media, and thank God, because I'm gonna be so honest with y'all, some of y'all, there are people with the most terrible takes being like, put me in the writer's room, I'll write it better. No, you won't. Actually, they should lock the writer's room door. They should actually put you on a no allowance list for the studio lot. I'm gonna be so serious. Like, some of y'all should not even touch a pen for Percy Jackson writers. I don't trust some of y'all's takes, especially if y'all want to keep Confederate soldiers in the show. I do hope we get more show, don't tell. I think that was one of my personal things with season 2. There's some episodes where I'm not particularly a fan of because of that. I guess an example would be the Krusty's situation. I kind of did not like how they went about that. It's not my personal favorite episode in general, but I think they understood that and have changed that for season 2. So I'm going to go under the assumption that that's probably not going to be the case for this next season. I have a lot of high hopes for it. I trust this writing team. I trust the production team. And like I said in my Annabeth video, I think they do a really good job of caring not only for the material, but also for the crew and actors themselves. And I think that's all you can ask for on an adaptation in general, but also on an adaptation that, involves children, and especially children actors, especially going through the weird phases of like growing up publicly, and just online fandom in general is a whole nother can of worms to hit on. That's it. I've ranted for about an hour. I thought this was going to be 30 minutes. I did do a lot of rambling, but I hope you enjoyed my thoughts and my feelings for season 2. And I am really excited for the show and to do more content for you guys. I can't put into words how much it means to me that there is a group of people out there that want to hear what I have to say about this show. And Wise Girl Nation, I do truly care for you, and I am very appreciative of you and of all your kind words so far in this journey. And we're just learning and growing, and I'm so excited to do more Percy Jackson content for you guys. So you guys have any suggestions for content, of course, let me know. I've seen character rankings, I've seen things of that nature. I'm not just Percy Jackson. My next video is something else. I am very excited to go on this journey to the Sea of Monsters with you all. Metaphorically, because you're not going to catch me on a ship like that. Absolutely not. I thought we'd end this with like some of my press ones. First of all, say yes to the dress. Please have some sort of way of tying Sweet Life with Zach and Cody, just so I can tell everybody on Twitter that I was right and that they were going to recreate the theme song. Thank you. And lastly, the press thing that I want the most, me at the premiere. So the mouse, if you're listening, hi. Hi, I look fantastic in blue. I can interview. I have experience. So just hit me up. Hit me up. Call me. All my information's in the bio, I will get that Disney Plus Percy series notice. I will get it one of these days, right? One of these days. It's coming. It's coming. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it this far, please let me know below who your favorite character is in Percy Jackson or what you're excited for to see with season 2. I would love to hear what you guys are excited for. I generally am interested. If you're watching this during the day, at night, if it's 2 a.m., I do need you to go to bed. Respectfully. With that, thank you. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.